I like Ghoulies. It's no Gremlins. It's funny, though.
This podcast is not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Spoiler warning for whatever is in the title of this episode.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that the Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible and all other major podcast apps.
Welcome to the new world of bonus episodes of the Horror of Babylon, where we are discussing Gremlins. I am Ryan, and with me as always is Daniel. Say hi, Daniel.
Hi, Daniel.
Thank you to our patrons, Abigail, the first Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron, and Ben, the fourth Patron of Hope, and Mia, the fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain, yo.
And thank you to Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall, at Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall at Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You can shop online at shop.horsemancomics.com, or you can be let in from the street by a little Chinese boy into this. This is your grandfather's comic shop? Yeah, look around. See if you find anything you like.
Why is your grandfather white?
The boy was adopted.
Oh, okay.
Ronald III, Grandpa's of Christmas, has a very kind heart.
That is true.
That is very true. Okay, so we are starting a new tradition here at the Horror of Babylon. So we're going to do yearly, we're going to do these Columbus Day episodes, where instead of talking about explorer Christopher Columbus, because why would we? We're going to do a movie from beloved director, writer, and producer Chris Columbus. And of course, we're a horror podcast. The best one to start with is Gremlins, possibly his best film. And we're going to kick it off with our history with Gremlins. Go ahead, Daniel.
I watched it as a child, and it terrified me. I watched it again as a child, and it traumatized me.
Have you read any of the background notes I read?
No.
Okay, good.
I was coming in.
There are so many funny things.
I've watched it a few times throughout my life, but it's been probably over a decade since I've seen this. At least 10 years. Mm-hmm. Probably more. Probably closer to 15. And I watched it again, and I was like, yeah, I remember why this traumatized me.
It's a movie. So for me, this movie is like Mom and Dad. Mm-hmm. As in, I do not remember a portion of my life where Gremlins was not a part of it.
Yeah.
I could not tell you the first time I saw this movie because I was so young, and my brother and I, watched it so frequently as children, like maybe even like pre-Star Wars, that it's always been there. Mm-hmm. It's like Mom and Dad. You don't remember meeting your mom and dad because they were always there. Some other memories I do have, this was the first DVD we ever bought.
Okay.
Before we even had a DVD player. This was the first DVD I ever watched. We had to watch it on our family computer. And it was like, this was like late 90s, like huge boxy monitor. Mm-hmm. I think we still had dial-up internet at that point. So that was my first DVD experience, watching it on not a very big screen, but still loved it. It was like, wow, look at that digital video disc quality. Another big memory with Gremlins is my family, Beck and Emma and Drake, they do not like scary stuff. They do not like horror. Whenever I have to watch something for the podcast, I generally have to wait until everyone else is asleep or watch it while I'm working.
Sorry.
It is what it is. The movies that I was showing them growing up was like Star Wars and Back to the Future and Lord of the Rings.
You didn't put in Nightmare on Elm Street when they were 6 like my
No, I did not. But I did show Gremlins to Emma when she was 4.
Okay.
And the first time we sat down to watch it, 20 minutes in, she's like, nope, I'm going to bed. And the second time, I actually got her to watch it because I told her, I think it was Three Musketeers. I'll give you a Three Musketeers bar if you watch this whole movie.
Okay.
And I actually, recorded her on my phone, her reactions to the movie because she was so scared out of her mind.
On my Facebook memories was me taking a picture of Derek when I was having him watch Stephen King's It with me.
She actually made a fall, an autumn bucket list for this year, and watching it with me was on her bucket list.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And if she succeeds, I'm going to try and convince her to record a 5-10 minute reaction.
Just a little reaction for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Okay. So yeah, Gremlins is kind of a sacred cow for me. It's one of my favorite movies. It's the 80s is my favorite period of films.
Spoiler alert, holds up.
Yeah, holds up. Practical effects, puppets, obviously I'm a big Star Wars guy, but also the Dark Crystal, Labyrinth.
Oh, Dark Crystal is so good.
Yeah, it's just
so's Labyrinth.
These are maybe my favorite genre movies. It's fantasy with a little dark fantasy horror,
some puppets.
Yeah, with puppets. I'm a huge Muppets guy. This is my jam.
The vampires are pure myth, superstition. I may be able to bring you proof that the superstition of yesterday can become the scientific reality of today.
Background. Did you know that Gremlins was released on June 8th, 1984, which was the same day as Ghostbusters?
That's some tough competition.
So we're going to fast forward a little bit to budget and box office. This film had a budget of $11 million and took in $212.9 million. It released the same day as Ghostbusters, which Ghostbusters box office was $295.2 million.
They competed against each other.
And they both won.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That doesn't happen very often anymore. Usually just there's a winner and losers.
But if you think about it, if I were an adult and going to movies, I would see both of these movies, and there's a good chance I would see both of these movies twice.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense. But that's still it kind of blows my mind.
The 80s, it was just built different.
Blame it on Reagan.
Thank you, Reagan.
Thank you, Reagan. Reagan McNeil, not Ronald Reagan. This movie...
Is it wrong that that's what I thought you meant?
No. This movie was loosely inspired by the novel The Gremlins by Roald Dahl.
Okay.
If you're not familiar with Roald Dahl, he's maybe the most prolific children's author of all time, except for maybe Dr. Seuss. He wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, Witches, the BFG, and lots of other books.
That's a lot.
Oh, he's written so many children's classics. It's insane. This movie was directed by Joe Dante, who directed Piranha, The Howling, the Twilight Zone movie, Explorers, Inner Space, Gremlins 2: The New Batch, and Small Soldiers.
I like all of those.
I know. There's a couple I haven't seen, but I love a lot of those movies. And it was written by Chris Columbus, who wrote, and this is just a fragment of his credits. I didn't list all the big ones. He wrote The Goonies. He wrote Little Nemo: Adventures in Slumberland.
That movie freaks me out.
Yeah, same. He directed Adventures in Babysitting, Home Alone, Home Alone 2, Mrs. Doubtfire, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and Chamber of Secrets, and Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief.
That's a pretty good category.
And the score for this movie was done by Jerry Goldsmith, who, aside from maybe John Williams, Howard Shore, maybe Danny Elfman, is maybe one of the most prolific music people, and he's a big one. I'm sorry, this evening we're drinking Great Lakes Commodore Perry, which is a 70 IBU.
I was gonna call it Captain Morgan.
That guy's a captain.
Yeah, this is a commander.
He's a commodore.
Commodore.
He's a commodore, and his rank is higher than 64.
Hand me the bottle opener. I'm gonna commodore my guts.
Oh my god. So the original concept of this film is credited to Chris Columbus, but the reason this movie got made is because Steven Spielberg got in on the project. He made this movie become a reality. He wanted this movie to happen.
His name's all over it too.
Yeah, and it's an Emblem Entertainment, which is his production studio. So, and it definitely, he was a producer. He didn't direct, he didn't write, but it definitely feels like a lot like a Steven Spielberg
One
movie.
of my false memories is that this is a Steven Spielberg movie.
I mean, it is and it isn't.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like, I think of this movie and went, oh yeah, Steven Spielberg did that, didn't he?
I mean, he produced it.
Yeah.
So Tim Burton was originally considered to direct. Steven Spielberg decided to go with Joe Dante instead because of The Howling.
That's my favorite werewolf movie.
Yeah, I know. I thought you would like that.
That's pretty great.
I understand why you would consider Tim Burton for this movie. I think it was a good decision to go with Joe Dante instead.
I also think it was a good decision to go with Joe Dante. I think Tim Burton would have made an interest version of this movie, but it would have been like 15% darker.
We're going to get to that.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. Interesting tidbit, Joe Dante worked on this movie simultaneously with the Twilight Zone movie.
Okay.
Which is crazy.
Which I also really like.
It's crazy. Also, the script that they used for the production was not the original script. The original script was much darker. In the original script, the Gremlins murder Billy's mom, and he finds her broken and battered body at the bottom of the stairs when he gets home.
Okay.
They eat his dog in the original script.
Okay.
In the original script, and I think this should have been left in, or maybe a variation of it, they attack a McDonald's, and instead of eating the hamburgers, they eat all the people who are eating the hamburgers.
That sounds kind of funny.
This is like the worst one. In the original script, Gizmo did eat after midnight, and he became Stripe.
Oh.
And Spielberg vetoed that because he thought that Gizmo needed to be in the entire movie.
Smart.
Which I think is insanely smart because...
It's probably the smartest decision I've heard from Spielberg.
Yeah, I mean, Gizmo was like Grogu before Grogu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People still edit Grogu as Gizmo all the time.
Mm-hmm. Here's an interesting bit that I found about the movie. So I'm just going to read a quote from Wikipedia. The film mentions an urban legend in which Kate reveals in a speech that her father died at Christmas when he was dressed as Santa Claus and broke his neck while climbing down the family's chimney. After the film was completed, studio executives insisted upon its removal because that he felt it was too ambiguous as to whether it was supposed to be funny or sad. Dante refused to take the scene out, saying it represented the film as a whole. I'm slurring because I'm a little drunk, which had a combination of horrific and comedic elements. Spielberg did not like the scene, but despite his creative control, he viewed Gremlins as Dante's project and allowed Joe Dante to leave it in the movie, and a parody of the scene exists in Gremlins 2.
Okay.
What are your thoughts? I'm curious.
It's my Koontz.
I will go ahead and say that scene never bothered me until this viewing, where it felt kind of shoehorned.
It's a combination of things, and that's one of them.
Okay. We'll talk about it again later. Probably in characters when we talk about Kate. So more on this. So Saturn Awards. This film won the 1985 Saturn Award for Best Horror, Best Director, Joe Dante, Best Supporting Actress, Polly Holiday, which actually, I don't know who that is, real quick. Polly Holiday. Is that the old lady? Yeah, that's the old lady.
The bitch?
Yeah, the bitch. Okay. Best Music, Jerry Goldsmith, and Best Special Effects, Chris Wallace. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
It was also nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Dick Miller. I don't know. That's Mr. Futterman, right?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's Mr. Futterman. And it was nominated for Best Young Actor. I didn't know. I forgot. I've seen this movie 50 times. I forgot Corey Feldman was in it.
Corey
Feldman! And it was nominated for Best Makeup. Okay, so. In this movie, along with Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, led to the creation of the PG-13 rating. This is hilarious. So the trailers and the TV spots for this movie heavily focused on Gizmo and did not really include the actual Gremlins. So people thought that this was going to be like a spiritual successor to E.T.
Oh, it's just family friendly.
They thought it was like a funny animal alien movie. Lots of people took their kids.
Little cute Chinese monster.
And lots of people walked out of the theater with their small children. A lot of people were super upset because they took their kids to see this movie when it's sort of a kid's movie, but it's not really a kid's movie.
Rated PG-13.
So it and Temple of Doom contributed to Steven Spielberg requesting that the Film Association create a rating between PG and R. And then just kind of wrapping this up, I just wanted to give a little background on what are Gremlins. So per Wikipedia, Gremlins are a mischievous folkloric creature invented at the beginning of the 20th century to explain malfunctions in aircraft and later in other machinery, processes, and other operations. It's a slang word that came from British pilots in the Royal Air Force stationed in Malta, the Middle East, and India in the 1920s. And the earliest print record of the phrase is from the poem Aeroplane, which was published in Malta on April 10th in 1920. Jesus Christ, Matthew Perry is kicking my ass. It was published on April 10th, 1929. Some other depictions of Gremlins in media: two Looney Tunes cartoons, 1943's Falling Hair, where Bugs Bunny is at an airport and he has a confrontation with Gremlins, which I've seen. In 1944's Russian Rhapsody, which portrays Adolf Hitler trying to fly a plane from Berlin to Russia to bomb Stalin, but there are gremlins on the plane and they prevent him from doing so. Infamous Twilight Zone episode from 1963, Nightmare at 20,000 Feet, in the 1981 film Heavy Metal.
I like Heavy Metal. I mean, I like a lot of this shit, but have you seen Heavy Metal?
I've never seen it.
Huh.
And that's that. Another story in the classic, infallible three-act structure. Good enough for Aristotle, good enough for The Simpsons.
Mr. Sislak, I have a feeling there's going to be one more act to this story.
Well, I'm not hanging around for that. 4 acts.
Structure and themes. Gremlins is really a combination of genres. It's a horror and comedy, but more importantly than that, it's black comedy and Christmas movies.
Just like the Tim Allen Santa Claus. No, not at all.
Not really. No.
I just wanted to mention it.
Okay. I wish I would have put some research into like horror comedy. I feel like horror comedy is kind of not recent, but like in the last like 3 decades. Like I'm having trouble thinking of like
a classic,
like 60s and 70s movies that like
it's
fall
definitely an 80s on thing.
Yeah.
Like Evil Dead is usually considered horror comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Cabin in the Woods.
Did you see that they're doing a Evil Dead Magic the Gathering Secret Lair?
I didn't, but I guess I gotta spend money now.
They're also doing
I do want that Pack Rat.
They're also doing a Jurassic Park one.
Yeah, I saw that one.
And a Princess Bride one.
Yeah, that's where I saw the Pack Rat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I've been waiting for them to do a DC one.
Well, they got the license for Lord of the Rings, so I imagine if they want to, they can get a DC license.
Yeah, it can't be that hard.
Lots
DC's
of people
desperate for money.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that hard. I'm sure at some point they'll do a Marvel and they'll do a DC.
Do a Marvel versus DC.
Oh my god. Like,
just print the money.
Batman versus Wolverine. Yeah. Like, dual decks. Bring back dual decks with Batman versus Wolverine. Superman versus Captain America.
I was going to say Superman versus Batman.
Oh, that too. I mean, oh my god. Obviously, Superman would be a red, white, and blue deck.
Yeah.
Batman would be black. Would it be mono black? Or like black and red, black and blue?
Huh.
That's a question.
Maybe black and white, because that's as close as I can think of.
Yeah, because
like
he is...
yellow.
He does have like a lot of those like order, like justice principles that white characterizes.
He just does it from the shadows.
I'm sorry if you are listening to this and you don't play Magic the Gathering, but
Honestly, just reprint Vampire Nighthawk and name it
That's Batman.
Yeah.
Well, I've shown you that proxy. There's a proxy out. Yeah. Okay. Small town horror.
Yeah, it's such good small town horror.
It's one of the best like small town horror.
And they build up so much.
They do. And actually, like my Koontz, I won't say yet, is one of the things they build up in the first part of the movie that they don't deliver on in the latter part of the movie.
Okay.
I'll save that for later.
Like that.
But they build up, like, they use, like, really only, like, the first 30 or 40 minutes to build up a lot of, like, little characters.
Yeah.
And then you mostly get payoffs for all of them in the latter part of the movie.
That's true. I'm going to bring up my notes on this movie while I'm thinking about it.
No notes.
No notes.
This is a no notes episode. This is also a creature feature.
Yes, it is.
But more importantly, it's a small creature feature. And most importantly, this movie led to like an influx of small creature features. And if you want more information on that, watch In Praise of Shadow's video, Little Horrors, The Impact of Gremlins, which I will have linked in the notes, in the description. If you've never watched the YouTube channel In Praise of Shadows, and you can only watch one horror content creator, watch them instead of us. They're much better.
Yes.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Let's jump to characters, and let's start off with our protagonist Billy Peltzer, who's played by Zach Galligan. And also just kind of talk about him and his family as kind of a group. What are your thoughts on Billy?
This was like one of the few things where I was like, he seems so okay with this magical creature that his dad just kind of brought to him.
I think that's one of the things you kind of have to let go.
It's like E.T. They just find an alien.
And they're just, okay.
Yeah.
The government doesn't. The government's like, what the fuck? But like the family's like, all right, I guess he's part of the family.
He likes Reese's Pieces.
He's like Reese's Pieces. It's cool. But I mean, the same thing with his dad.
Yeah. Like he just finds this creature that can talk and sing to you.
I'll give you $100. That was the thing that stood out to me, is that Gizmo talks. He repeats words. And not like a parrot does, but it seems
he understands that's bright light.
But nobody acknowledges the fact that he appears to be like sentient.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it's fine. Like there's willing suspension of disbelief, and I'm fine with that in this movie. But it did stick out to me on this rewatch where it never did when I was younger.
Yeah.
Other than that, what do you think about Billy as a protagonist, performance?
He is a very 80s protagonist.
He's very, very serviceable.
Yeah.
Definitely not a bad performance, but not the horror protagonist to beat all horror protagonists.
Yeah.
He doesn't get bogged down by like terrible things happening. He just keeps going.
He rolls with everything that happens.
It's like,
oh, I guess they can multiply by water. That's kind of neat.
That's fucking weird. I would have called for help the second those gross fucking looking egg things were all over my bedroom.
I would have set them on fire.
He's just like, it's cool. We'll see what happens.
I would have gathered them up and put them in a pyre and been like, done.
Yeah.
But then again, I've also seen Gremlins.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I have to try to keep in mind when I watch these movies, is they don't exist in a world where they've gotten to see Gremlins.
Yeah. They don't know what we know.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's hard to separate, especially on your upteenth rewatch.
Yeah. It's like, how hard is it to not feed them after midnight? Mm-hmm. Well, apparently it's very hard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they chewed the cord.
I forget, it's also a different time period where people were reliant on clocks that you had to plug into a wall, where we are not reliant on those anymore.
I have a wristwatch. They had to have had wristwatches.
Well, okay, but I was talking about phones, but that also.
Yeah.
It also just, it struck me that he's just so... he is an artist, and he was in the middle of a project when this happened, but he's so disconnected with what time it is that he doesn't know if it's before or after midnight. Or you would think that he, as an adult, a functional adult, he would know if it's close to midnight. and not just glance at a clock and go, oh, it's like 10. What is actually...
It looked like it was like 15 till midnight. And I was like, honestly, to me, that'd be like way too close.
Yeah, I'd be like, you can't do... I was about to say, give him a glass of water, but no, you can't do that. You can't do that either. Because that's what I do when I'm hungry and I shouldn't be eating. I drink a glass of water, but...
Smart.
Yeah.
That's actually super smart.
Mm-hmm. But you can't do that with a gremlin.
Yeah.
No.
You get 10 more gremlins.
What I kind of like about Billy is that he doesn't end up being like the action hero kind of like star of the last act of the movie. In like the last portion of the movie, he mostly just like gets his ass totally kicked by Stripe, and they only beat Stripe because of Gizmo.
Yeah.
Which I really like.
I think that the climax of the film is like top tier.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. Okay, what about his dad, Randall Peltzer, played by Hoyt Axton?
Every time I watch this movie, I forget what his character is. What's the dad from Rugrats?
Stu Pickles.
He's Stu Pickles.
No, Stu Pickles is Randall Peltzer. Yeah.
But I'm sitting there going, oh, he's Stu Pickles every time I watch the movie, because I'm more like Rugrats is more in the forefront of my brain than Gremlins is. So even though he came first, that's what I associate him with. No,
he absolutely is Stu Pickles. I think it's a very funny character, and I think he's the most like in your face of all the characters, except for maybe like the old bitch.
Yeah.
He's the most like in your face of all the characters. This
is a Swiss pocket knife, but for brushing your teeth.
You're a smoker? I noticed you were a smoker. Well, you know what you need? A smokeless ashtray. And it's like an ashtray with a cover over it. And I'm like, dude, if you put a smoking cigarette in an ashtray with a cover on it, it's gonna billow and come out the hole. And the next scene is the dude standing out the door, coughing like crazy, and smoke billowing out of that hole. I'm like, what did you think was gonna happen with your smokeless ashtray?
Smokeless ashtray.
Did you think the smoke was just going to disappear into thin air?
Exactly.
No, if you put... Oh my god, I think it's hilarious. I also think it says a lot about his wife and his child, that they constantly try to use his inventions, like the coffee machine, like the orange juicer, and they just don't complain. They're just like, that's Dad. That's our life. That's what we do in this house. We can't have a cup of coffee. We have to have a cup of hot sludge because our dad's an inventor.
Can't have eggs.
We can't have eggs because...
A juicer? How many things can we list?
Lots. The phone thing, like the remote that answers the phone, the egg breaker.
The remote that answers the phone is almost intelligent.
Yeah.
It's like one step away from being cell phone technology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he was on... That's what I would say about a bunch of his inventions, is he's like onto something.
He's like...
But he can't quite get there.
He has the right idea, but he doesn't have the technical know-how to make it work. Yeah. Except for the smokeless ashtray. That was just dumb as shit. The most surprising character to me is...
Shit.
Professor Shit.
Professor Shit.
Lynn Peltzer, the mom, played by Frances Lee McCain. Probably the thing that I always get most excited for, and I always just like gets me jumping up in my seat, is the scene where she just like aces 3 gremlins in a row in the kitchen.
She blends one of them, microwaves another,
and she straight out like scream Ghostface just stabs the shit out of another one.
Because it like tries to jump her from the Christmas tree, right?
Mm-mm. That's the one that gets her.
Okay.
So the first one she gets in the blender, and then the second one is standing on the counter and throwing shit at her, and she picks up like a dinner tray to use as a shield, and then just picks up a butcher's knife and just
sword and shields it.
Yeah, she just stabs the shit out of it. The third one she gets in the blender. The fourth one is the one that jumps out of the Christmas tree and is strangling her with the Christmas lights, and that's the one that Billy decapitates with the sword.
That's right, okay.
And then the fifth one is Stripe, who escapes.
There's just a lot going on in that scene that's hard to keep straight sometimes.
There is, and I only can because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah.
I love how it's just like, oh, this lady's gonna die. And she does die in the original version of the script.
Yeah, she gets eaten.
No, but she fucking murders 3 gremlins, just like, boom, 1, 2, 3, and granted the 4th one gets her, but still she took out 3, which is more than, like, almost anybody else in town.
It's like 3 times as much as anyone else in town.
Except for Billy, but Billy got lucky.
Yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah, you can really blame that on Snow White.
We have to give that protagonist logic.
Yeah, he's got plot armor.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
Thank you. Plot armor.
Yeah, exactly. And then the girlfriend, Kate. Played by Phoebe Cates. Or Katz. Okay, so you said you didn't like Kate's like subplot with her dad, so go ahead and talk about that.
Hey Ryan, you want to know how I found out Santa Claus wasn't real?
You found your dad dead in you found your dad dead in a chimney?
Gremlins.
Gremlins. Oh, really? Mm-hmm. Wow. I didn't know that. I'm sorry.
And then I pretended for years that it wasn't real.
How did I found out that Santa wasn't real? We lost a hamster, and I was looking for the hamster, and I found our Easter baskets like a couple weeks before Easter.
Yeah.
Which led to, the Easter Bunny's not real.
That
means Santa. Yeah. That scene never bothered me at all. In fact, I thought like it kind of added to like the dark kind of nature of the movie. It did feel a little like shoehorned to me.
It felt, on this watch, it felt like uncharacteristically dark to the rest of the film.
Yeah, because it is a dark comedy.
Yeah.
But it is a very lighthearted movie in that, like, you're mostly just, like, having fun throughout the movie.
Even with the dark stuff, you're having fun, but this is just dark.
Yeah, I mean,
it's mood whiplash.
That's basically... But it's only in, like, one scene.
Yeah.
As opposed to other things where
it's like, back and forth a bunch.
That is probably, like, almost the worst thing that could happen to a small child.
Yeah.
Is you lose your dad at Christmas because they were trying to give you presents. Like, that's so shitty. I don't know. It is what it is. But yeah, it's not the best. Okay, so that's Phoebe. Okay, so not talking about, like, every single character specifically, but in addition to, like, you know, Salem's Lot and It, we have, like, this huge cast of townspeople. They have like these little small subplots that we get little bits about them, and most of them have payoffs where you either like see them get killed by the gremlins or see them fighting the gremlins. Like, who are some standouts to you of like the minor characters around the town?
I liked the dude dressed as Santa Claus getting gang jumped by gremlins, and the 2 police just roll up their windows.
Those cops did not give a fuck.
The police officers were great.
They like obviously, like, when Billy is like, there's gremlins, yeah, they don't believe him. I totally get that. But then he shows them an actual gremlin.
Like, here it is,
dudes, and they still don't take him seriously.
Every time I don't watch the movie for a few years, I think he's a veterinarian, but the teacher. Mm-hmm. In my brain, he becomes a veterinarian.
No, he's a high school science teacher.
Yeah. He stands out a lot. I like his, like, death by gremlin.
He is the first death.
Yeah.
And I guess is contributing to the whole, like, black guy dies first thing. Which...
Not fair, but still.
Yeah. I don't want to characterize it that way, but that is something that people discuss.
He is black and he does die first.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like he dies first because he's black.
No.
It's scientific curiosity, but at the same time, they cast it that way.
He dies first because he's the only other character that Billy gives a gremlin to.
And he's like, I gotta see what happens.
Yeah. It's the pupil stage.
Yeah.
Just things like a butterfly. Mr. Futterman, the drunk next door who's constantly on about foreign cars and foreign equipment and...
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I have met so many people like that in my life. Why are you driving that Toyota? That's a foreign car.
You gotta get something built American.
I love that line from Hank Hill in the basket weaving episode. Sir, anytime I can contribute to a Made in America sticker, I'm happy to do so.
You know what's funny is a lot of people are always talking about Made in America, but they don't do anything to make things made in America.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Mrs. the bitch.
The bitch. Yeah, that's what I kept calling her.
Mrs. Deagle.
Yeah. I don't care that you're rent's late and that it's Christmas. I am like the bank. I exist to make money.
What was the rule that we established with dog soldiers? If you want to show that a villain is bad, have them kill a dog or threaten to kill a dog in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. And she literally just sits there and gives a monologue about what she would do to the dog.
I'll put him in the dryer on spin cycle. And the guy next to her in line is like, that would do it. I'm like, no dog would kill the dog.
Yeah, that would work.
It would, if you put me in a dryer on spin cycle, like I would eventually die. God, she's such a bitch. We'll talk about our favorite kills later. Any other like townspeople? What did you think of Corey Feldman?
He was Corey Feldman?
He was Corey Feldman. He was absolutely 100% Corey Feldman. Okay.
Comic books.
How does, so ranking Corey Feldman performances, how does this rank against Watchers?
Way higher than Watchers.
Way higher than Watchers.
What's lower than Watchers?
In terms of Corey Feldman movies?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's go to his page.
That's our next Patreon exclusive.
Is our top whatever. Oh my God. Every time I see a picture of him as an adult, it just like gives me the shivers.
I'm so sorry, Corey Feldman.
Yeah, I'm also super sorry.
Hollywood hate you.
I also constantly think that he's dead, but he's not.
I always think, I agree, I think he's one of those kids that overdosed.
Yeah, but he's not.
Yeah.
So he's in Minecraft story mode, which is like that interactive...
it's the Five Nights at Freddy's movie.
Yeah. He was in one episode of American Dad. He was in the Best Ninja Turtles series.
He was in the original Ninja Turtles series?
That is not the best. I've never watched Psych, but I've heard of it. He was in an episode.
So good.
He was in an episode of that. He was in the music video for Katy Perry's Last Friday Night. We were something in the last Friday night. That one. He was in that music video. He was in a movie called Hooking Up, which I immediately want to watch. Lost Boys: The Tribe. Is that like a spin-off of Lost Boys?
It's one of the sequels.
Oh, okay. He was in one of the Puppet Master movies. He was in Greg the Bunny. I loved that show.
I still haven't watched Greg the Bunny.
It was good.
It's on my list.
He was in Dickie Roberts' former childhood star, the Nuck and Futz movie, My Life as a Troll, whatever that is. The Crow, Stairway to Heaven. Is that like a TV series based on the movie The Crow?
I hope so.
That's Dwight Schrute's favorite movie.
The Crow is?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
A little edgelord, ain't he?
He's super edgelordy.
I am Wolf.
I didn't know that. Oh, there was a point where Dwight was having a child and he tried to name it Worf.
He's Donatello?
He's Donnie in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3 Turtles in Time, which was my favorite TMNT movie as a kid.
Because it
takes place in Japan, exactly.
Yeah.
That's crazy. He was in an episode of Married with Children.
This is now
There are 4 Meatballs movies?
This is now the Corey Feldman podcast.
Oh, he was also Donnie in the original TMNT movie.
Okay, well then, great. That's his number one.
Yeah, I guess so. He was also in The Lost Boys. I didn't realize that.
That's number 5.
Of course, Stand By Me, which is one of his most iconic films. And The Goonies, duh, obviously.
Yeah.
I've never seen Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. He was also in Friday the 13th, The Final Chapter, which is not the final chapter. He was in the new Leave It to Beaver. I didn't know that was a show. I'm sorry if you don't care about Corey Feldman, but we're going...
No, this is the Corey Feldman podcast now.
He was in 2 episodes of The Love Boat. Oh, I did know this. I always forget. He plays Copper in The Fox and the Hound. He was in the Bad News Bears, the TV show. There's a Bad News Bears TV show. Okay, that's the history of Corey Feldman in film. Cool. Let's move on to the Gremlins. And let's talk about Gizmo. What are your thoughts on
Top tier little dude.
top tier little dude? I've got to say, like, if you're talking about like mascot horror characters, like puppet, like creatures, like he's up there, like just under like Yoda and some of the Muppets. Like he's pretty high.
Yeah.
He's a cute son of a bitch.
Who would outrank Gizmo? Maybe Yoda.
Yoda and a couple of the Muppets.
I'm not as attached to the Muppets, but probably Kermit.
Yeah,
Definitely Kermit.
Kermit the Frog is pretty iconic motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when I was on Twitter, it was Kermit and Yoda was my,
That's how I represent you in our memes.
Yeah, I guess I'm the more Kermit the Froggy of the two of us, but...
I'm sexy Boo-chan.
I bought Emma a Boo-chan hoodie.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, and they're actually pretty nice.
Yeah.
By the way, check out our swag store at Teespring or Babylon. I don't remember the actual address, but it's linked in the show notes.
Yeah.
So check that out. The t-shirts are decent. Yeah, Gizmo. Okay, so let's have a thought experiment here.
Okay.
Because we're drunk and we're struggling. Let's say that Steven Spielberg didn't nix Gizmo becoming Stripe, and partway through the movie, Gizmo ceases to exist, and there is no Gizmo for the later half of the movie. Do you think that Gremlins becomes like the iconic?
It doesn't get a sequel. It probably does okay at the box office. It doesn't do as well. I think it probably does. It still profits, but best case scenario, half of what it actually made.
A lot of the success of this movie came from merchandising of Gizmo.
Yeah.
After lunchboxes, toys.
100%.
Yeah. There was like an NES game, Super NES game.
And I'm saying, like, and that's best case scenario, half of the 219 million.
Something like that, yeah. That's an absurd amount of money.
Yeah. So it still profits, and it still probably, like, gets some, merchandising, but it doesn't do more than almost 20 times.
Would you have, like, thought that, like, one of the most iconic lines in all of horror movies would be, "Bright light, bright light"?
Only because I've seen this movie since I was a kid.
I know, but it's just...
Yeah. It's hard for me to, like, remove myself from that.
Yeah, it's so cute.
Yeah.
And I also relate, because I don't like lights.
But because he says bright light, I keep forgetting he comes from a Chinese shop all the time. I keep expecting the line to be in Chinese.
No lights!
No, that's the rules. Remember, there's 3 rules.
There's only 3 rules, Billy Peltzer. How fucking hard is it?
And you break all of them.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Wait, what was the 3rd rule? They don't feed them after midnight. The water.
And lights. They don't like
lights.
They don't like light. And sunlight can kill them.
Yeah.
Let's go to our antagonist, Stripe. What do you think of Stripe?
I think he actually kind of holds up in terms of, like, iconic, I'm the bad guy from an 80s monster movie villains.
I do too.
Like, there's not... If I sat there and thought about it, is there a lot to him?
No.
No. But he still has that, like, distinct look. They made him look a little different. And when you think about Gremlins, you think about Stripe. You think about how he looks as a little gremlin dude. And then you think about how he looks like after the pupa stage.
So, in, like, all of the, like, documentation about this movie, they always refer to the cute form as the Mogwai and the ugly form as the gremlin. So, okay. Based on, like, everything I read, Gizmo is not a gremlin.
Yeah, he's a Mogwai. Okay.
Yeah. I always have a false memory that his name is Spike.
Instead of Stripe.
I don't know why.
Because it's like a little spike on his head.
He has a mohawk.
Yeah.
And I always think that Corey Feldman says, oh, he has a little mohawk. But no, he always says, he has a little stripe on his head. I was like, do you know what a stripe is? Corey Feldman, you're taking too many drugs.
We thought you were dead.
And that's another false memory. I always think that Corey Feldman like died when he was 13, but nope, still alive, still doing stuff.
You know who else I always think is dead, who's still totally alive, is the Malcolm in the Middle kid.
Frankie Muniz.
Yeah, I keep thinking Frankie Muniz is dead.
Is he still working? Let's do that.
He has a band.
It's a band.
Apparently, he has like one of those like disorders where he has like super short-term memory.
That's sad.
Yeah.
The last thing I remember seeing him in was the movie about Siamese twins with Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear, where he was having a sexual relationship with Cher.
With Cher?
With Cher, like the singer.
Like the actual singer?
Yeah. She's like the villain in that movie.
Ooh, man, I'm sorry, dude.
I like it, but no, he's still working. He was just in Aquafina is Nora from Queens and is about to be in Hot Bath and a Stiff Drink 2. And Half Baked 2.
Is Hot Bath and a Stiff Drink a porno?
He plays Deputy Alistair Jenkins. I don't know.
I'm here to serve you.
Twin brothers, one a marshal, one an outlaw, join forces against a hardened killer bent on revenge in the Old West. No, this is not a porn.
Okay.
Is that Frank?
Is that oh my god.
I think that's him. Yeah, that's him.
Hi, Malcolm.
Wow, he looks the same except for some facial hair.
When are you coming back for a Malcolm in the Middle reunion?
Malcolm in the Middle is like the only thing that has not had like a reboot or a...
Let's keep it that way.
Yeah, that's fine. That's totally fine.
Please, Jesus, let me just keep Malcolm in the Middle of my heart.
You know what? It'll never happen because Bryan Cranston is too big a star now. He'll never go back.
He's like, I can't be the bad husband.
Funny Malcolm in the Middle Simpsons lore thing. So the judge in The Simpsons, like the regular judge character, is known for like being really lenient and always like letting Bart off the hook. But the lady who plays the mom on Malcolm in the Middle, she has a minor recurring role in The Simpsons where she plays Judge Constance Harm, who is like the one judge in Springfield who always penalizes Bart super hard.
Okay.
It's funny.
It is funny.
It is funny. And like she started that character while like Malcolm in the Middle was still like on the air.
I always tell people that the difference between being a child and an adult, right, is the Malcolm in the Middle test. Is do you agree with the mom or not?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're a kid, you agree
She was a monster.
She's a bitch.
Yeah.
And if you're an adult, you're like, those kids are horrible.
I know, those kids are so shitty.
That's the test to see if you've matured.
Yeah,
It's the Malcolm in the Middle test. I think is a great metric.
Well, I guess I've matured because...
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
If I was that mom, all of them would have been in military school, not just the oldest.
I forgot Francis.
Yeah.
Okay. Francis, Reese, Malcolm, Dewey.
Yeah, good job.
Dewey.
Who's the fifth kid?
There's a fifth kid?
Yeah, they have a fifth kid.
I think I stopped watching before that happened.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't watch the whole
For the
thing.
longest time, they played with the gender, and they gave it like a gender-neutral name.
Mm-hmm.
It's a boy, though.
Chris.
Yeah, something
Sam.
like that. Yeah.
Sammy could be a cross
Are you
name.
in the closet? And we're back to FNAF.
Fuck that book.
I'll kill you all! I'll drive you crazy, and I'll kill you all! I'm every nightmare you ever had. I am your worst dream come true. I'm everything you ever were afraid of.
Let's keep going. Scary shit. Is this movie scary?
I think there are parts.
It legitimately creeped me out as a kid.
It legitimately creeped me out as a kid, and even on a rewatch, there are parts where I'm thinking about it like, if you dropped Stripe into, or if you dived into a pool, I would shit my pants. Because you know what's coming.
As an adult, do I think the movie is quote-unquote scary? No. However, when I just watched it like 2 days ago, the hatching scene, or no, like the scene where Gizmo gets wet and like they have like the other Mogwai like come out of those
little hair balls.
Yeah. I thought that was legitimately creepy, and it got under my skin.
You know what creeped me out as a kid and still creeped me out was when they were eating the chicken and the slimes, like, pulling off their mouth.
Yeah.
It's great puppet work.
I think that in terms of, like, special effects, and, like, practical effects, puppets, this is, like, up there with like the Star Wars movies as like one of the greatest.
This is S tier.
Yeah.
Like, what beats this other than
Like,
maybe Star Wars?
Maybe Return of the Jedi with like Jabba and
maybe Dark Crystal.
Yeah, maybe Dark Crystal. But that's the same. Like, yeah.
But the only reason Dark Crystal would beat it is because it's all puppets, as opposed to this being puppets and humans, which might make it better because of how well it blends.
Yeah, and like the only reason like we may not say like Muppets is in the competition is because that's like comedic and
They're
not
purposefully cartoonish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Although this is also a very cartoony movie, but for different
reasons.
Yeah. So,
it's more Tom and Jerry and less Looney Tunes.
I would say it's less Mickey Mouse.
Yeah.
And it's more leaning into like the physical violence aspect. Sort of like Looney Tunes and Tom and Jerry.
Itchy and Scratchy show.
Yeah. Very itchy and scratchy.
Check out our Treehouse of Horror of Babylon.
The Simpsons cast. The Simpsons cast. The Simp-Sons cast.
Yeah, the Simpsons cast.
What is your favorite Gremlins kill in this film?
It's the
both in terms of a gremlin being killed and a gremlin killing a person.
My favorite a gremlin dying is the blender, because it just kind of, it's so out of nowhere. She doesn't even try to see what the things are. She's just like, nope.
No, get out of my kitchen, be dead
and
now.
She's like, I'm done. She presses the button. She's like, the eggs were too aliens for me. I am done.
I hit the button that now makes you dead.
I have seen what you do to Newt. Presses the button. And then my favorite person death is like the chair.
The old lady.
Yeah, the old lady.
Mrs. Deagle.
It's like the most iconic kill from the movie.
It is. No, it's my favorite too. And I think it's what do the kids say? It's the base answer, but it's the best.
But what beats it?
She's the bitch who wouldn't give the little kids a break on Christmas, so she gets to fly out of her fucking chair through a window and smash into a street full of snow.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so since we both agree on what's your second favorite? It's hard. There's so many good ones.
I don't even remember if they die. I kind of like the snow plow, with
the Futtermans.
Yeah, then they drive through. I like that.
That's the one that kicks everything off. That's the first of the ridiculous.
It starts off all that great shit.
Mm-hmm. The last 40 minutes of the movie that's just totally off the wall.
Again, don't even know if he dies, but the Santa Claus and the cops rolling up their windows, just going nope.
Yep, nope, we're done. And then the gremlin comes out of the snow and cuts their brakes.
Yeah. There's a lot of great scenes in this movie. I don't care what. I mean, I've never heard anyone say anything bad against this movie. After watching it after more than 10 years without seeing it, I think it holds up.
I do too. Since we mentioned this earlier, there's one joke.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm going to see if it matches mine. Hold on.
And I still thought it was funny, but it's definitely not a joke that you could write in 2023 and be acceptable.
Okay.
And it's where Billy's walking Kate home. And she's telling him that, I don't like Christmas. He says, what are you, Hindu?
Okay, that wasn't mine. That's pretty good. Mine is the dude hitting on her at the bar and goes, I got cable.
I know. Because that was a big deal in 1983 or 84.
I look at him and go, I have Netflix. What the fuck are you talking about?
No, it's funny because yesterday we had my mom over for dinner, and she just moved into a house here in our city, so she could be closer to us, and she got cable. And I'm like, Mom, you don't need cable. You've got Netflix. You pay, or we can get you you can have Netflix and Hulu or whatever. You don't need to pay for cable. She's like, no, I want cable. And she's like, she pays for it, and she's asking me all these. I can't find this channel, Mom. I don't know, because I don't pay for cable, but I will come over and help you figure it out. I have not paid for cable in 15 years.
Who pays for cable?
My mom.
My mom kept trying. I finally got her to stop.
It's like landline phones. It's just, if you get cell phone service in your house, you don't need a landline phone. So just don't throw money away. So I thought we would tie this in a little bit to our Treehouse of Horror. of Babylon. And since this is a horror comedy, in the scary shit segment, we would also talk about what's your favorite joke and what's your least favorite.
One of my favorite jokes was, I've got cable. Which I don't think was a joke at the time.
No, it totally wasn't.
It's super funny now.
It's so funny now, yeah.
And my other favorite one, which I also don't think is a joke, is, Corey Feldman comes over and he sees the Gremlins. And then he just starts reading a comic book. I say, yeah, they're super interesting. But it's just like I can accept the main character just kind of being a little bit nonplussed. Mm-hmm. But when you get also like a little kid coming over and then sees them multiplying, going, oh yeah, whatever.
I'm gonna read this. I'm gonna read
your comic book that you showed me instead of the fucking magical talking creature.
Me as a kid, I'd be like, I could give a shit about your comic books. I want to play with this magical animal.
Right. It's like if a Furby was real.
They're basically Furbies.
Yeah, that's what Furbies were.
Furbies are basically Gremlins. Yeah. Okay.
On Gizmo, yeah.
It's really hard to pick like a singular joke. I think the thing that is funniest to me in the entire movie is like how entranced all the Gremlins become by Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I think it's like one of the funniest like resolutions to a horror threat in like all of film.
I've brought this up like 4 or 5 times now, but I think like the actual gag that's funny to me is the cops rolling up the window going,
yeah,
is that Santa Claus drunk? It's like,
not our problem.
Yeah,
we're not dealing with this.
Even though they've literally just seen the magical little creature.
Yeah. He's like, Gremlins are real, yo. And they're like, okay, whatever. Here's a real gremlin
attacking a Santa Claus.
Yeah. No, he shows them Gizmo, and then they see more of them attacking Santa, and they even know who that is. They
acknowledge him.
Yeah, they identify him by name. I don't remember his name, but he plays Santa every year. Like, so save him! Get out of the car, pull out your gun, and help him!
Exactly.
But they don't, because they're like shitty small-town horror cops. Like Parkins Gillespie from Salem's Lot. And it's just like, whatever, it's not our problem. Roll up our windows and keep driving. Oh, wait, we don't have brakes. We die.
You have vampires.
You have vampires. Okay, cool. And then just last thing I had in scary shit, I can't say enough. I really think, in terms of practical effects... We've already mentioned this, but I really think it's S tier. It's like one of the best up there.
If it's not top, it's in the top like 3 category, and it is an S tier.
Yeah, and I think like original Star Wars trilogy.
The Mogwai look good, the Gremlins look good, and they look good with people, which is super hard.
I think the eggs.
Yeah,
it really like brings you back to Alien.
I wanted to bring that up because of our Alien-a-thon you should be watching.
Yeah. And like the scene where like Gizmo gets wet and the poof balls pop out of his back. The scene where the pool, I guess they did that with like a fog machine and with like maybe like glow sticks in the pool and like a bubbler in the pool, but that was so cool looking.
Even something as simple as Gizmo's eyes rolling back because he's afraid of bright light and running away looks good.
And it really, like, do you think that the things they do with Grogu and the Mandalorian could exist if this movie didn't happen? No. I
don't even think the Mandalorian would exist if this movie didn't. They wouldn't have even have conceived of the idea of, hey, cute little big-eared creature. Even if Yoda already existed independently, they wouldn't have thought to like cutify it.
And I 100% think that Grogu is like Yoda and Gizmo do like a fusion dance.
Yeah, they thought, hey, people like Yoda, people like the Gizmo.
The Gizmo!
Let us combine.
And just like continuing like the Star Wars comparison, at Star Wars Celebration this year, Doug Chiang, who's like the lead designer at Lucasfilm, he did like this panel where he was talking about design and like current Star Wars things, and he said, I can't remember the exact numbers, but he's like, when I'm thinking about a design for a Star Wars production, I want it to be like 80% realistic and like 20% like, what is that? And it kind of reminded me of Gizmo because he's like 80% adorable, but he's also kind of like 20% ugly. He has like these naked, furless ears. He has like this kind of like
that little mouth. Yeah,
the beak. It's like a beak with like no fur, and
it reminds me of Monkey.
Yeah. If you focus on it, it's kind of ugly. But like if you take him as a whole,
it's big-eyed, little adorable
he's so
infant
cute
creature.
too. Like we want to cuddle you. So yeah,
I'd love to give you a little bow and arrow and see what you do.
Oh my God! Are you Stephen King? No, I'm Dean Koontz. Oh.
Kings and Koontz. Daniel, what is your king for Gremlins?
Okay. My king is the practical effects. Because even shots that aren't like 100% practical still like harken to the practical. Mm-hmm. Like the gremlin shadows of the they're behind the theater screen.
The screen, I love that.
Everything blends so well in this movie because you're using practical effects throughout so much of it that you don't think about shit like that.
Yeah.
Unless you're sitting here on a podcast analyzing it.
Yeah.
Everything in this movie feels genuine, and that's so hard to pull off these days.
I love when they're coming through the screen at the theater. I love when there's a mob of them like walking down the street.
So good.
I love the wide shot of all of them in the theater.
The shot of them coming down the street is 100% a Howling scene too. So whenever we end up covering the Howling,
we need to. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
And I love Joe Dante. I love this movie. I love werewolves. So we need to do that. Mine is the same but different. So my king for Gremlins is the Gremlins, which includes the practical effects that is the Gremlins. I mean, it's on the nose. What the kids say, that's a based opinion, but the best part of Gremlins is the Gremlins. I'm sorry. And your Koontz is the
Santa Claus scene. It's a little mood whiplashy. It's kind of connected to some weird memories. Mm-hmm. It feels a little bit out of place with the rest of the movie.
I agree.
But at the same time, I do respect that Steven Spielberg let him keep it in there.
Yeah, that's cool. And at least it's one scene.
I can't think of anything that I hate from this movie.
So I have a different Koontz.
Okay.
I wouldn't say I hate it.
Yeah.
It's just a disappointment.
Yeah.
So in the first act of the movie, you have a famous actor who we have yet to. Well, you have mentioned him without saying his name, Judge Reinhold,
yes.
Who is the I have cable. And you spend a decent amount of the first part of the movie establishing that he's a dick.
Yeah.
You never get to see him
nothing
kill.
happens with him.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like there's a deleted scene out there.
There is a cut of this movie that's 5 hours long of him just being eaten alive.
Hold on, I'm YouTubing this right now. I found a YouTube video of all the deleted scenes. Okay, so we just watched the deleted scene of what happens to Judge Reinhold's character.
That's fucking funny.
It is funny, but I can see where they cut it.
It'd be hard to fit into the pacing.
And I think they could have written a better resolution to his character where he just gets fucking murdered by gremlins.
I would have put
But it is funny.
Already in the safe.
Yeah, maybe they shut the safe. And you can look this up on YouTube. Maybe I'll put a link in the show notes. But they could have they shut the door of the safe and then a gremlin was already in there and it murderizes him.
Yeah.
That was my Koontz. Okay. But it's in there. Okay, so that's cool. Rankings. I did rank mine ahead of time, but I'm making you go first.
Oh god, this is hard.
It was also hard for me, but I'll let you. Matthew Perry, get in my mouth.
Right below Pet Sematary, it's number 7.
Wow. That was a lot higher than I thought you were going to have it, but I'm glad. Yeah. I'm happy. Because this, like I said, this is kind of a sacred cow for me. Oh, I don't have to copy because it is my number 2.
It's a good number 2.
I toyed with the idea of making it my number 1. It is my number 1, and ultimately what I came down to is in terms of like legacy and franchise, it doesn't compare with it.
Yeah.
Maybe if you like compared them as like standalone movies, maybe it's better. But there's just so much more to it because it has the novel and it has the follow-ups and like there's just and after you read or watch it, there's so much more to think about with Gremlins. It's just a good time.
It is a good time.
But it's a really good time.
I'm very surprised how well it held up. I was expecting to like dislike it a little bit more and be disappointed.
I was kind of just like gearing myself up to fight you.
Yeah, no, it was a great time.
Because I've said it a couple. This is a sacred cow. This is like one of my like big movies from childhood. This is like
I was honestly looking for stuff to bitch about and I couldn't.
It's hard.
I was sitting there trying to be Mr. Analytical and I'm like, well, I guess the Chinaman scene's kind of stereotypical, but like,
yeah, it is.
It was made in it was made in 1984, and Chinatown is a thing.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, like I don't know what to tell people. There are Chinese mysticism shots.
You could get upset about Billy saying to Kate, "What are you, Hindu?"
Yeah,
but like, how productive is that really?
Like, fuck you. Like, who are you actually helping with that sort of criticism?
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, let's go to Zombie Day. There are some pretty good cameos, which I've seen this movie probably over 20 times, maybe over 30 times. Steven Spielberg is the man riding the bicycle in this film.
Okay.
I didn't know. Jerry Goldsmith is the man in the phone booth. Chuck Jones plays the character Mr. Jones, who Chuck Jones is famous for being the Looney Tunes director and animator.
Okay, so I was about to ask who that was.
Yeah, and that's relevant because really, like,
it's kind of a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah, it is, and also like Gremlins' first appearance in like American media was like that Bugs Bunny cartoon, Falling Hair.
Yeah.
And another thing that I just thought was really funny. So a gremlin makes an appearance in the Treehouse of Horror episode, Night or Terror at 5.5 Feet, which is a parody of the Twilight Zone episode Nightmare at 20,000 feet. The gremlin in that episode of The Simpsons is voiced by Frank Welker, who plays Stripe in Gremlins. You may also know him as he's played Freddy in Scooby-Doo since the 60s, and in current Scooby-Doo media, he plays Scooby freaking Doo. I'm sorry, that was just... He's Scooby freaking Doo.
Yeah.
We should do like an episode on a Scooby, like a Zombie Island, or...
Oh, Zombie Island would be so good.
That'd be so sweet. The thing is, like, it'd probably be like my number 3 or my number 4 or something like that.
It'd probably be in my top 5.
Yeah, it'd be so high. And we probably...
It would destroy our list.
We would need to get Heffen on that episode too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Scooby-Doo in the Ghoul School, the Reluctant Werewolf.
Those are so good.
13 Ghosts, the Boo Brothers. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All right.
We have to make a whole separate list for Scooby-Doo.
Wait, what? That could be like its own like mini series, like Treehouse of Horrors.
Yeah.
All right, homework. What would your Peltzer invention be? And more importantly, how would it fuck up?
All right. My Petzler invention. This is the Petzler Meritoid.
Oh no, we did the same thing.
It does everything. It sucks, it fucks, it suction cups. You strap it to your cock, you get 3 whole inches. Your wife ain't ready, it lubricates her. The only problem is it comes pre-made with syphilis.
So, I had the same thing, except the problem was that your wife likes it better than you.
That's true for every marital way.
Ooh, a piece of popcorn.
I 100% thought we were going to do the same thing, so I prepared a little speech.
No, it's okay. That's also what I thought. That's fine. All right, question for the listeners. The Name Game Violence Edition continues with Jason Blum of Blumhouse versus Jason Voorhees of Friday the 13th.
Jason Blum gets a movie out of it, but he loses.
Yeah, he gets a knife to the chest, and that's that.
But his stock value goes up 3%.
So his children are the real winners.
It's just like every boomer's case.
Oh, such a fucking boomer.
Hey, he's probably actually a Gen X, so I should look that up.
Yeah, he's probably Gen X.
Sometimes I forget I'm a millennial.
Yeah. Daniel's like, I hate millennials so much, but I am one.
I hate Zoomers. I think we should put them back in and have them cook a little longer.
If I weren't the father of a Zoomer, I might agree with that, but
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. All right, for further reading, Gremlins 2, the new batch, it's not as good, but it's fun.
It's a fun movie.
It's a fun time.
I'd watch it. I'd do it for this podcast.
Yeah, and we probably will at some point. I have never watched the Gremlins TV show, Gremlins Secret of the Mogwai.
We should.
We probably will at some point. And there's been a Gremlins 3.
In production forever.
And that's something I wanted to bring up, is that this movie made like $220 million, but it doesn't have like 7 iterations. Like, that's kind of unusual for a successful horror franchise.
Especially something with that kind of mass appeal.
Yeah. Because if you think about it...
It's like Jurassic Park even has almost 7 now.
This... it has 6.
Yeah.
And with the TV show, it has 7.
Yeah, so it's 7.
This has more, like, marketability than, like, Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street or Halloween.
I'm surprised they didn't try to bring it back with Grogu.
Yeah. But it doesn't... It has 2 movies.
Yeah.
It's unusual.
That is weird to me.
Yeah. Maybe that's partly because Steven Spielberg is kind of at the helm, and he's not... He... Obviously, like, sequels happen in Spielberg franchises, but he doesn't, like, run them into the ground with sequels like a lot of things do. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching for an explanation there. Also, if you like Gremlins, we mentioned this at the beginning of the episode, check out the YouTube channel In Praise of Shadows. Watch their video, Little Horrors, The Impact of Gremlins. I have it linked in the description. There are so many, like, Gremlins, like, knockoffs, like Ghoulies, and, like, all that stuff. Check that out for sure.
I like Ghoulies. It's no Gremlins. It's funny, though. It's kind of one of those, like... It's 100% a knockoff, but, like, just fucking have fun with it. Well, okay, it wasn't designed as a knockoff, but they marketed it as a knockoff.
They were released about the same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because they were, like, being filmed close together, and then they saw, like, the buku's money, and then they were like...
Ooh, let's get in on that.
It's complicated. It's fun to, like, watch and learn about.
Matthew Perry is kicking my ass.
Yeah. Dude, I peed so much.
I know. Like, look at him with his fucking sword and the ship's, like, on fire. Dude's badass. With his IPA shitty beer. Alright, so that's that. Upcoming on the Horror Babylon, our next 2 Sunday episodes, Sunday, October 9th, Five Nights at Freddy's, The Twisted Ones, which we just recorded. Spoiler alerts, we're not huge fans of that book, but I think it was kind of an entertaining episode.
I honestly thought that came out way funnier than we intended it to.
I think it's a little long, but I think with some editing, it could be a decent episode for us.
Yeah.
And then...
Thank you, alcohol.
Commodore Perry. October 15th, we are reviewing the new film, The Exorcist Believer. And now's the time to mention, we did have some polls and some debate about if we were going to review the second and third FNAF novels or the 2 prequel Exorcist films. and we're going to end up doing both. We're going to do the FNAF novels on schedule like we originally planned, but you can expect a bonus episode on those Exorcist prequel movies sometime in November or December.
Maybe we'll do like a compare and contrast.
Yeah, they're on the schedule. They're going to happen. So you'll see those at some point. Also, our next 2 Thursday bonus episodes on Thursday, October 12th. The Alien-a-thon continues with Prometheus, and October 19th, Treehouse of Horror of Babylon continues with the Exorcist parody Exorcist, which I'm very excited for because I've actually not seen that one. So, really excited. And thank you to our patrons, Abigail the First, Breaker of Chains, Mother of Dragons, and
Logan,
the Full Metal Patron. And Ben,
the Fourth,
Patron of Hope, and Mia the Fifth, the Rainmaker.
She makes it rain.
And thank you to Horsemen Comics and Gaming, which you can visit at the Morgantown Mall in Morgantown, West Virginia, the Mall of Robinson in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Oregon. Shop at shop.forhorsemancomics.com. And that annoying guy on the radio that just won't stop talking. It's not Rockin' Ricky, it's Rockin' Ron. And even though you think halfway through the movie that he gets murdered by gremlins, turns out
he makes it.
He's still alive. He's like, it's been a long night for Rockin' Ron, but I'm still here. You're like, damn it, I thought you were dead.
You know what? That could be a spin-off or a short movie.
Like what happened to Rockin' Ricky?
Yeah, like they're trying to break. You frame it kind of like Night of the Living Dead. The gremlins are trying to break in, and how he survives through the film.
It's like a siege movie in the radio studio, and like the whole thing is like he keeps going back to the radio and like narrating what happens,
and he like pile drives a gremlin.
Or he could even like, maybe he's like so into it he's dressed up like Indiana Jones and he has the whip and the fedora. There are actually like a lot of like Gremlins like fan movies or fan sequels. I've not watched any of them.
I can see why.
Yeah, it's such a great movie. Okay, so we'll probably do Gremlins 2 at some point. If you like this and you want more Gremlins, let us know. Also, we still plan to be doing this next Columbus Day, so if you have a particular Chris Columbus movie that you want us to do for Columbus Day 2024, reach out to us. Let us know.
No, they're going to ask us to review Christopher Columbus.
He was a bad man.
Have you read The Confederado? That's our review.
Killed a whole lot of indigenous people.
Sorry, that was dark.
Can we do the Harry Potter movie?
Yes. You deserve it now.
I'd rather do Adventures in Babysitting personally, but
okay.
we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's hard to say what's going to be going on a year from now.
It is hard.
All right. Thank you to our patron. We already did that. It's fucking Matthew Perry. Thank you to our patrons. Stay tuned for our socials and stay scary.
Stay scary, everybody.
I have to pee so bad.
Go pee. You deserve to pee.
And now for the obligatory socials. Please like, share, and subscribe. You can find the podcast on Twitter at HorrorPod69. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Slasher, and Goodreads. Become part of the Disturbed community by asking for the Facebook group and Discord links. Send dick pics to the Horror of Babylon podcast at gmail.com. Support the show at patreon.com/the Horror of Babylon. In closing, you can let your friends know that The Horror of Babylon is available on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, and all other major podcast apps. Stay scary.
Kermit the Frog is pretty iconic motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.